This is the Sons of Montezuma podcast. In yesterday's episode, we recapped the Aztecs' loss to Arizona. So today, to look forward to this Saturday's game against the Idaho State Bengals, is Greg Woods, reporter for the Idaho State Journal. So joining us today from the Idaho State Journal, where he covers Bengals football and all sports there, I would assume. We're going to welcome into the Sons of Montezuma podcast, Greg Woods. Welcome to the show, man. Good to talk to you.
Dude, I'm happy to chat. I'm excited for you guys having me on. This is awesome.
All right. That's what I like to hear, man.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
All right, so tell us, man, how is it like out there in Idaho State country?
It's crazy, man. I've never lived in a place that's like this scenic and like kind of oriented toward the outdoor scene. I'm from Kansas originally, so when I first moved out here, I'm like, wow, there's so many like mountains and crazy views and whatnot. I'm not used to any of this. Is crazy, and so it's definitely like oriented toward the people that like to do outdoorsy stuff like hikes and whatnot, which is not me at all. So it's kind of been a learning curve living out in in a place like this. But no, man, it's cool. It's a lot of fun getting to cover ISU, and it's a lot of fun when they're playing a place like San Diego. So I'm looking forward to coming out there.
Oh, cool! You're getting to make the trip out here for this thing?
Yeah. I gotta cover some high school football on Friday night, and then find out Saturday morning. So,
well, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get any of that San Diego famous weather. It's supposed to be like a freak hurricane storm going on. So
I saw there was like a chance of rain or something.
Yeah.
So last week in our home opener, opening up the stadium, it was like one of the hottest Aztec game in history, over 100 degrees. And this weekend coming up against Idaho State, we might be getting this crazy hurricane tropical storm. Just your luck.
No, it's all good. I saw this like video where this guy is like walking around the stadium during the game on last week, and people are just like trying to get into like the gift shop places because it's just like there's nowhere to go to cool off, and it seemed like a disaster. But hopefully it'll be a little cooler this weekend.
It'll definitely be a lot cooler, that's for sure. But it'll probably be a lot wetter too.
Well, I'll take the cooler. That's okay with me. I'm okay with the rain.
All right, so tell us about the Idaho State Bengals. So what is something that we don't know about this team? We saw that they lost their opening matchup to UNLV in Las Vegas. Other than that, it's been since 2004 since the Aztecs played Idaho State, a game which the Aztecs won. So tell us, what do we need to know about this team? Who are the players that we need to watch out for?
Well, the starting quarterback is Tyler Vander Waal, who won the job. He was a starter last year and the spring season before, but he got injured in like week 3 of last season, and then they brought in a whole new coaching staff in January. So they were just like, you might have been the starter last year, but we want to give everybody a chance to show us, what they can do throughout spring and fall camp. So I mean, that's what they did. But in the end, he won the job back. So he's the quarterback. And then they have guys like receiver Xavier Guillory, Jalen Johnson, who, I mean, for as much as this team struggles, some of their best players are on offense between Vander Waal and Guillory and Jalen Johnson, who actually transferred from Arizona. And he actually won before the game got out of reach at UNLV. He made this like awesome like double move against a guy and got like wide. I thought it was like a busted coverage, but the guy just made like an awesome move to get open. So he's definitely a guy. On defense is where they run into some problems. I think that's like the weakness of this group, is that their defense is just like so unproven. A lot of them are inexperienced, but a guy named Josh Alford is a cornerback, and he'll be I mean, he actually dropped a pick last week, but I think he'll be able to turn it around, and he's definitely one of their better defenders. And then their defensive line, I think it's got to be the strength of their defense, because they're like the linebacker and secondary spots. They're just very inexperienced, very unproven. So their defensive line is definitely the strength of their defense, between guys like Ramo Trevino and Tyler Gonzalez, who actually is also from San Diego. So some local connections going on there. But yeah, defensive line got to be the strength of their defense. So that's kind of a little bit about ISU.
Awesome. Yeah, Vanderwall, he's a Wyoming transfer, if I recall correctly, right?
Yeah. He was actually playing there when Josh Allen was there.
Yeah.
And I guess that was I think that was ended up being part of why he left, was because Josh Allen was obviously incredible. And then there's, I guess, some other things going on. But yeah, Wyoming transfer for sure.
Can you tell us anything about like what kind of schemes they run on both sides of the ball? Like, do you know anything about that?
Well, they're definitely run oriented. They want to be a run first team, which is like it's kind of strange because they have a lot of weapons, through the air between Vanderwall and the two receivers I just mentioned. But if they had it their way, they're definitely run first. I mean, they have guys like Raiden Hunter, also from San Diego. So we have a lot of more local connections going on here. So Raiden Hunter is their running back, definitely run oriented. But you saw against UNLV, they can pass when they want to too. I think, like I said, they have some receivers that are pretty talented, almost like some of their best players are on offense. And then on defense, I mean, their weakness on defense is their secondary. So I think they're hoping teams like San Diego State and teams they face down the line are wanting to run the ball, because that's something I think they can defend a little better, because they have a really good defensive line. And then, like I said, their linebacker and secondary spots are, there's some holes there.
Can you give us any insight on the head coach? Like any background info on the
on the so that would be Charlie Regal, who was this is actually his first college head coaching job. He was previously the special teams coordinator at Cal. And then he got to start coaching high schools in Arizona, and then he coached a little bit as an assistant at University of Arizona. And so a lot of the guys that are on at least the new guys on this year's team are from Arizona, are from like junior colleges in Arizona and California and whatnot. So he's using a lot of these like connections for previous stops to bring in some new guys to this year's ISU team. But yeah, Arizona guy, like I said, last coach special teams for I don't know how many years at Cal. But yeah, he's a cool guy, very, very straight shooter. He's, very candid. I always enjoy talking with him because he doesn't really try to hide anything, very just direct and open with a lot of things. Even with injuries, which I know a lot of coaches are kind of hush hush about that, but he's open to talking about those a lot of times too. So yeah, I mean, he's a cool guy. It's going to be I think it'll be kind of a longer process, but I think he's kind of going in the right direction here.
What are, people expecting from this team this year?
Not much. The answer is not much, because they haven't had a winning season since 2018, and since then it's just been kind of a mess between going. I mean, last year they went 1-10, which is kind of weird because their one win last year was against UC Davis, which was like the ranked number 7, I want to say, in FCS. Yeah. So kind of a strange way that they got their one win last year. But yeah, like the last few years have just been kind of a mess. They haven't won very much. I mean, they were picked, I want to say, tied for last in the Big Sky this season by the coaches and the media. So in that way, I mean, Regal's the least expectations of any coach in the conference for sure, just because of what he's walking into and the players that he kind of the hand he's dealt. So the answer is expectations are very low around ISU, around Pocatello, but I think fairly so. Just because, like I said, they haven't won in such a long time, and a lot of the guys they have on the roster are just inexperienced, unproven, just haven't had a lot of reps, I think, in a lot of cases. So I think for all those reasons, very, very low expectations, but you can have a worse situation to walk into as a new head coach.
Yeah, so it's safe to say they're kind of in a rebuilding stage right now, right? With the
for sure. Yeah, that's like the safest thing you could possibly say right now. Like that, they're just for sure, big rebuild going on. And I mean, they're hoping to kind of expedite that process. Obviously, they don't want this to be some kind of long, drawn out rebuild. But the reality is, these things take years and years and years. Some are faster than others for sure. But I think in this case, it's going to be a few years before they're kind of back on their winning ways. But you never know. That's why they play the games. So definitely rebuilding stage for sure.
So tell us, Greg, who do Bengal fans hate more? Idaho Vandals or Boise State Broncos?
I Idaho for sure, because they're in the same conference. There's more of a, they run into each other more often. So that's definitely, I mean, they have like a whole name. It's called like the Battle of the Domes, which I think is like kind of a corny nickname for that rivalry, but it is like an established thing at least. Whereas like with Boise State, like they're in, I don't even know when the last time they played each other in football was. So, but yeah, Idaho for sure, just because they run into each other more often.
That Kibbe Dome is a house of horrors for San Diego State, man.
Is it really?
It seems like no matter how good San Diego State is and how terrible Idaho is, that game was, it was almost a for sure loss, or at least a struggle to win.
Wow. Wait, are they playing each other like very often up in Moscow?
Back when Idaho was an FBS school, they would play a little bit.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well, the Kibbe Dome is crazy. Like I was up in Moscow like January or February to cover some basketball, and it was at Idaho's new basketball arena, which is like it's sweet in its own right. But then one of their like associate ADs was like, "Hey man, you want to come check out the Kibbe Dome?" And I was like, "For sure. Like, you don't have to ask me twice." So I go in there and walk around, and you look up, and it's like you're like almost dizzy looking up because it's just so freaking high. It's such a tall roof, such a tall dome. So yeah, that place is crazy, man. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it looks kind of drab or whatever, kind of boring," but I think it's pretty sweet.
Okay, so tell us, because obviously the Aztecs are the huge favorites. It's
sure.
Not a mystery. But tell us, why are the Bengals gonna beat the Aztecs this Saturday?
Well, if they beat them, it will be because San Diego State kept running the ball a lot, like they did against Arizona, which plays into the ISU defense's hands. It'll be because Vander Waal just had all night to throw and found his receivers in space and let them do their thing, which I think is the strength of their offense. And then also they get like when Arizona, when San Diego State wants to pass, they get pressure on the quarterback because, like I said, their defensive line is the strength of their defense. So I think if they find ways to get pressure consistently, force a turnover or two, that'll be big. That's a big if, though, man. I don't know. That's a big sell to make.
Okay, so let me ask you the inverse then. Why will the Aztecs beat Idaho State this Saturday?
Because their defense outside of their defensive line is questionable, very dicey. Like I said, if San Diego State, finds a way to get a rhythm through the air, then that'll be a tough time for ISU, just because their secondary, like I said, is, they've had better days, and then I mean on offense, they for as much talent as they have between their quarterback and receivers, their offensive line has had better days. I think they're I want to say, I never saw the exact sack number against UNLV, but I want to say they gave up like 4, 5, 6 sacks. One even on like back-to-back plays, which is not great. So I think if San Diego State blows them out, it'll also be because their defensive line is just kind of winning that battle in the trenches and making it hard on Vander Waal to have time to throw to his receivers. And if they can't do that on offense, then it's going to be a long day for sure.
Okay, how about you put out your Twitter handle or a way people can follow you or kind of follow your work?
Yeah, so on Twitter it's just at Greg W Woods. That's kind of where all my stuff is. And our newspaper is the Idaho State Journal, so all of our stuff is on our website as well. So yeah, that's where you can find my stuff.
All right, Greg, we appreciate your time. And if you are making your way down, you feel like stopping by the Sons of Montezuma tailgate, we'll see if we're up there, if it's not pouring down buckets of
okay.
Global warming, rain, and fire.
All right. Well, we'll hope for no natural disasters then.
All right, Greg. Enjoy your rest of your evening, and thanks for stopping by for a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
All right, yeah, see you guys.
Dude, that's a great gig.
The only sports guy on the whole table.
But dude, it's kind of cool that they're paying them to go to freaking like on their road trips, man.
Yeah.
UNLV last week, San Diego this week.
Yeah. I was just looking at their coaching staff. There is kind of a connection. Pierre Cormier is their cornerbacks coach.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then their offensive coordinator is Taylor Mazzone, who was at USD last year as a wide receivers coach.
Okay, so let's talk about the Aztecs though, because that's all great and well. But Coach Hogan, the presser, said basically, it's not about them, it's about us. And this FCS opponent is the perfect game, right? I wish we could have opened up with Idaho State instead to at least get the offense under some kind of flow, let the defense get some, get their confidence without a lot of these guys that moved on to the league last year. So an FCS opponent like Idaho State, I'm not worried one bit. I just wish we could have had this last week. So tell us though, what do we need to see from the Aztecs this week? Because he says we need to throw the ball, and I kind of chuckle because well, okay, I think we should throw the ball. We should be able to. If we can't, then there's something wrong. But obviously we need to run the ball just like any other game. What do you think, Dan?
I think I know you said we're not worried. Obviously we're not worried, but I want to see something convincing. I don't want it to be like the New Mexico State game last year or something where it's way too closer than it should be for far too long. There's no excuse this week. This needs to be a blowout. It should be blowout from the very beginning. I know the weather could change that, make it a little bit closer, get to go run or whatnot. But I want to see, like you said, I want to see what the identity is going to be and see if we could kind of create like a look that's a type of offense that we know that's going to be there every single week. Because I want to be able to tell you what's going to be there next week based off what we saw against Arizona.
Yeah, after looking at the stats from the UNLV Idaho State game a couple weeks ago, this offense should be able to do whatever it wants pretty much, because they couldn't stop UNLV running the ball and they couldn't stop UNLV throwing the ball. So, if there's ever a game for, like Dan said, for the offense to find their identity, this would be it. And I would like to see the defense come out and dominate, because that was the biggest eye opener for me. The biggest scary thing for me coming out of the Arizona game was the way the defense just got manhandled. And that's scary because that's going to be the strength. That's supposed to be the strength of this team. That's supposed to carry us this year until the offensive line develops, because we know it's a young offensive line. But if they can't come in and control this Idaho State team that didn't really do anything against UNLV 2 weeks ago, that to me is the more scary thing than, the offense may have some hiccups. So
speaking of the defense, I want to see them play like their hair is on fire, like just flying around, being ultra aggressive. And not aggressive because we're blitzing every time. Not that type of aggressive. I'm talking one-on-one battles, winning them, playing really fast, quick reads. I want to see less blitzing, if anything. I mean, we were blitzing so much that we got smoked on last week. So I wanted to see them playing fast, aggressive, shooting gaps, just playing like their hair's on fire, man. Like we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
So I have already sat down with Coach C on our YouTube channel, and we've gone through some of the plays of the Aztecs versus Arizona game last week. And one of the things he brought up to me was that Arizona had all offseason for their offense to basically game plan for the Aztecs defense, all those different blitzes, and they had different packages, blocking packages to prepare all offseason, right? But that's a lot different when you're going on a week-to-week basis and you got to prepare in that one week for a team. So I can imagine you're going to see a defense with their hair on fire and a lot much more success against this Bengals team and this Bengals staff that really only has a week. Maybe they looked ahead, but why would you do that? So I can't imagine why we wouldn't be able to shut them down.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's kind of like, when you play a triple option offense, if you have all summer to prepare for them, you might perform a little better. But I mean, there's no excuse, but that is a fair point to make.
Sure didn't help us any with them, but maybe it's a whole new different team we were playing in Arizona, But,
yeah, like Jason Shear even said, this offense wasn't the offense from last year. It's a completely different style of offense that they played.
Yeah. And
the defense, it was a completely different defensive coordinator. So we didn't have any tape on their defense. So that's not why they lost.
It's a good understanding to have, just to put things in perspective. So tell us in this game, guys, who are our picks? Offensive player of the game. We'll start with you, Dan, because you're raising your eyebrows. I caught you off guard. What you got?
Man, it's going to be hard to pick any running back player of the game, right? Because it seems like they're going to share the carries so much.
Now, keep in mind, Coach did say Braxton Burmeister is going to be the starting quarterback, that his shoulder issue isn't really much of anything, and he should be out there. He should be the guy, right? So Braxton Burmeister is going to be the starter.
I mean, I think you have to take Braxton. I think anyone with the first pick would have to take him. Because obviously they've shown you they're going to run. They have a lot of designed runs for him, right? Yeah. There's so many running backs that are going to get carries that will kind of lower each individual impact. So yeah, I'll say Braxton.
All right, James.
I'm gonna go Jesse Matthews to finally make an appearance. They threw it to him what? They threw it to him what? All at one time last week.
I believe he had like 2 or 3 targets last week.
So I think maybe they're gonna make it a point to get it to him and Shavers more this game. So I'm gonna go with Matthews.
Okay, all right. Man,
hey Matt, can we talk about how bad James' predictions were last week? His prediction for first touchdown was beyond Penny, because they weren't going to kick to Bird, but they kicked to Bird every single time.
Hey, Bird almost took one to the house too, dude.
Oh, that punt return he had was beautiful. That stiff arm, oh, that was lovely. So that leads me to my pick. I'm picking Jordan Bird because he's the type of guy that in these type of games, right, you can see him taking advantage in the special teams on a punt return or a kickoff return. And, you know, he's got that elite speed. All you need is just that little sliver of daylight. I'm picking Jordan Bird, offensive player of this game.
He's the type of guy that his speed will play up against a slower, less skilled, less athletic team like they're playing.
Absolutely.
And he's the kind of guy, he doesn't need like 10 carries to get 100 yards and a couple touchdowns.
Dangerous X factor. Okay, on the defense, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to go ahead and pick Caden McDonald. I'm picking my guy, our Sons of Money NIL team, Caden McDonald. I'm expecting some tackles. I'm expecting maybe some tackles for loss, maybe a sack. I think he's going to show some senior leadership and come out with his hair on fire, as Dan says. Who you got, James?
I'm going to stick with Banks, man. I think he's maybe going to be a little upset about his performance last week, and he's going to come out a little fired up. I'm gonna stick with Banks.
Dan looked thrilled about that one.
And I want to pick anyone on that defensive line. I'm gonna say Noah Abinger. I think they're gonna get behind. They're gonna have to throw, and there'll be some opportunities to get for some picks. And it's going to feel like a big difference covering the Arizona wide receivers versus what they're going to be seeing against Idaho State.
Well, that's what I'm saying. These are the games you need as a springboard to get the ball rolling, get your momentum, get your confidence, get your swag. We need this one.
Dude, how worried are you about when we have to go play at Utah?
I'm not.
I know we're making the trip.
You're not worried. You weren't worried about Arizona.
No, but I mean they're going to play up to Utah. Because Utah's going to be a top 10 team.
Oh, stop. We can't listen to James' predictions anymore.
All right.
He said our defense is going to dominate Arizona.
Watch and see, sucker.
He said they're going to be kicking it to Breon Penny.
Remember what I said. It's going to be a close game against Utah.
I've never seen our defense play worse.
I know.
Daniel. That was not Aztecs football.
I'm choosing to believe it was an aberration.
God, you're such a homer, dude.
Hey, man, Utah lost to unranked Florida. I get it's SEC Florida, but they were unranked coming in. So maybe
that quarterback at Florida is good, man. That kid is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that team is going to be scary. Kind of, if you're going to talk about other games, how about and future opponents? How about Boise State? That offense looked terrible. I was
loving that.
I watched the replay a little bit of that game. They even benched Bachmeier at one point. The only offense they had was their quarterback running the ball, and that's no bueno for the kind of offense they run.
I thought we looked bad, and we did, but when I went home later that night and finally got some rest and turned on that Boise State-Oregon State game, it made me feel a little better watching Boise State get throttled by the Beavs. And you hear that freaking chainsaw just going off all the time in the background. Hilarious.
Oregon State's going to be good this year, I think, man. So that's going to be interesting to see.
All right, guys, this Saturday, Idaho State, San Diego State, Global Warming Bowl, Part 2. Make sure everybody brings your raincoats and your umbrellas.
Stay tuned to Sons of Monty Twitter. We'll keep you updated on the tailgate situation.
Yeah. And make sure you're subscribing to Sons of Montezuma on YouTube, where we're going to sit down with Coach C and we'll be releasing our film room videos. We'll be taking a look at last week's game and basically what we got to do to improve. So, all right, guys, Mateo San Diego signing off. K5 James, Dirtball Dan, sonsofmontezuma.com. Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.